right, let's take it to some of the people who were elected in that 2011 vote to see how they view the investigation. I'm joined by Conservative MP Pierre Poilievre, the NDP's Pat Martin, and the Liberals' John McCallum. So, John, let's begin with you, because it seems like the ridings that are at stake in this election were around southwestern Ontario, held largely by Liberals at the time. How do you view the denials of the Conservative Party and of the Prime Minister?
Well, I think you have to believe in the tooth fairy to believe all that, because it's not a single isolated riding. It's at least 18 that I'm aware of across the country, and I can't imagine how one single operative woke up one morning to target all those 18. So I don't have a shooting gun for the Prime Minister, but I think it has to have been arranged at some central level to some degree, and hopefully this investigation will give us answers on that question. But I do think it's a gross affront to democracy. Here we have a concerted effort to suppress the vote, to tell people the wrong information about where they are supposed to vote. I think this is a really serious matter, and I certainly hope Elections Canada gets to the bottom of it, and those who perpetrated the crimes or the bad acts, if they are crimes, I want to add that, see the consequences of the law.
Mr. Martin, did it impact any of your ridings? Do you think you lost any elections because of what appears to have been an attempt to confuse the voter?
Mm-hmm. Well, there's we have 8 that we know of ridings that got these mischievous calls, and 2 that we lost. We don't really know what the impact this kind of thing has. So I would have to agree with John. It's hard to overstate how serious this is. You are denying somebody their fundamental right to cast their ballot in a free and fair election by mischievous means, deliberately mischievous means. It's not only a violation of the Elections Act, it does venture into the criminal code when you misrepresent yourself as a government official on the phone and lie to people just to undermine their right to cast their ballot. Extremely serious, and when you're looking at who's the culprit, you look to motive and you look to opportunity. Who would stand to benefit from lying to NDP and Liberal voters about where the voting station is? And opportunity. Who would have lists of thousands and thousands of opposition phone calls? The Conservative voters in those ridings didn't get those phone calls. It was the NDP and the Liberal people. So through the campaign, you keep track of your followers and your opposition's followers. I say the Conservative Party phoned all the NDP people in this riding and lied to them about where the voting station was.
Something the Conservative Party says it did not do.
That's correct. It's clear that voter suppression is completely unacceptable. The Conservative Party of Canada ran an ethical and clean campaign, and the reality is that we never can condone this kind of activity, and frankly, if someone has engaged in it and that is proven, then they should face the full force of the law.
So how can you reassure the Canadian public that an investigation was done, first of all? I mean, it sounds like there's already conclusion to the internal party investigation. Our hands are clean. What can you tell us about that investigation, and what steps did you take as a party to ensure that wasn't the case?
Well, first of all, the national campaign has operated in a clean and ethical fashion and did not participate in any of this. If there are allegations that are later proven that someone else did, then that person should face the full force of the law. And if the Conservative Party of Canada is asked any questions by investigators, they will, the party will cooperate completely.
So they're already setting it up so that one kid gets thrown under the bus. I mean, it's the Conservative Party of Canada that had the long-standing relationship with this outfit, what are they called, RAC 9 in Edmonton. Now, we don't know the full extent of that relationship because we've tried to find out how much their contracts actually amounted to, and the Conservative Party won't tell us. There's invoices from RAC 9 to the Conservative Party that have been blacked out and redacted.
This is the information that was accessed under the Access to Information.
This is correct. There's information they don't want to tell us about the extent of the relationship with this RAC 9 outfit from Alberta.
So what you're looking for then at that point is you want details, I guess, on what the contract said.
We want criminal charges. We want this to go. I mean, frankly, we have to send a message to the Canadian public that there's integrity in our electoral system. It's been compromised by some very bad people.
You can't call for criminal charges unless you know what kind of evidence you're dealing with, though.
Well, the Elections Commissioner is dealing with it now. They've made reference to the RCMP.
Name the person you would charge.
whoever
Well, look,
is
I
the
think-
architect of this scheme.
I think
Who
the
is
problem with
the architects of this scheme?
Pierre's argument, the problem with
If I
your
could have the
argument,
floor for just one moment. And just
Okay,
ask
30 seconds then to Mr. McCallum.
Mr. Martin, you claim that you think there should be criminal
Yeah,
charges?
yeah.
Name the person you would
The
charge.
architects and the
Name them.
mastermind of
And
this
their name is?
conspiracy to defraud. Well,
And their name is?
the
You don't have
architects.
the-
Well, and Mr. Poilievre,
well,
will
they're
you,
in the
will you-
Senate now.
will
so
you
it's
make
difficult
the-
to get senators to
You're just
testify,
making it-
isn't it?
Well, look,
But
Yeah,
let me just interject here then. If you want Mr. Martin to name the person, will the party commit to releasing the contract so that we can all understand what the nature of the contract is?
Well, listen, if the party is contacted by anyone investigating this, either at the at the Elections Canada or anyone else, of course the party will cooperate
almost hear the
and answer the
shredders
questions.
starting up as we
that is
speak.
something we're completely committed to. But for Pat Martin to claim make the claims he has without any evidence and without being prepared to back them up, I think says more about him than it does about our party.
that's just crazy. The point is the investigation is just ongoing, so how can he possibly know the
he's
names?
already concluded
What
there
we
should be
are saying
charges.
is that should wrongdoing be found, those people should be charged. And the other point I would make, Pierre, is your defense might have some credibility if it was one isolated riding or two, but it's at least 18 across the whole country.
We found out
so
one
how
more
can you
today.
explain that one operative or two operatives or 18 operatives just acting randomly did this? It has to have had some central direction, otherwise it makes no sense.
Well, the reality is that the Conservative National Campaign function in a clean and ethical fashion. That's how our party operates
This is
in
what I'm
all
questioning.
cases. And the reality is that if there are any questions, we will answer them. And if there's someone who has carried out something called voter suppression, then and that person can be found to have done that, then they should face the full force of the law.
So tell me what steps the party took to be able to make that claim.
Which claim?
The claim that it is operated in an ethical and honest fashion.
Well, the Central Campaign reviewed its actions and can confirm that it did not engage in any action related to voter suppression. It's not something we do. Our activity is
Pierre,
quite exactly the
Pierre, you
opposite.
used to
which
stand
is
up
to
in the
say-
House of Commons.
Just to say that we contact voters in order to encourage them to vote, not the opposite.
You used to stand up in the House of Commons day after day after day and deny the In-N-Out scandal until your party pled guilty and cut a deal. And, this here we are again with is the second incidence of mischief in the past election. We're starting to wonder if you really won a majority government in the last election. You're 39%. Your razor-thin majority may have been achieved by cheating,
All right,
in which
last-
case I argue it's invalid.
Last point to Mr. Poilievre. What steps will the party take to be more transparent in advance of the conclusion of the Elections Canada investigation, or will you wait until that is run out?
Look, if Elections Canada contacts the party and asks questions, the party will answer those questions.
What about the people of Canada that are worried about the efficacy of a democratic vote?
Well, we assure them that we operate in a clean and ethical fashion and will continue to do so.
All right. Thank you very much,
Thank
gentlemen,
you.
for being with us.